Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Hump Day Hotline.
Hump Day!
What's going on, Hump Day? Mike. I was literally about to say Jay Spence is drinking out of his Arizona Cardinals cup.
Red Sea. Let's
Dude,
go, Cards.
they might be the worst team in football this year.
The worst team. We're shooting for that number one pick, baby. We're shooting for that number one pick, baby. Let's go. Go Cards. Let's go.
It is Hump Day. This is the Hump Day Hotline with your co-host. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, and that over there is my co-host, Jay Spence the King.
Yo. What's up?
You can find him on Twitter at Jay Spence the King. It is so good to have everybody with us for this wonderful edition of Hump Day, the Hump Day Hotline. We are we're a couple weeks in. We were off last week. We have a football game coming up, right? How exciting is that? Real football, sort of real football is actually about to happen. Not real football, but real-ish kind of football. The title of the show, your guy is coming back to town.
Before we talk about McKenzie, because we're going to talk about him. Before we do, though, I will say first, you are so like football is back, and I know it's preseason, and I know we're going to watch some guys who that won't make the roster, and this will probably be the last time that they put on a football uniform to see, like for the rest of their careers. And we're going to watch some football that won't be the same quality. But man, I would sign up during the summertime to watch like practice squads play against each other. Like that's how much I miss football. I've watched this last season probably 3 times. I've watched the season prior to that a couple times. I've watched a lot of football this summer. And I feel pathetic. I really feel pathetic.
I have lived by the phrase since I started doing podcasts with you and everybody else to not wish your summer away. And this summer, I watched a lot of sunrises. I watched a lot of sunsets. I watched a lot of boats go by. Like we just sat at Lime Lake. We extended our stay by 5 days. So we checked out today instead of Saturday. We were like, yeah, we don't want to leave yet. So we texted the people, the landlord. We're like, is anybody coming in today? Or tomorrow? It was Friday. She's like, nope. And I was like, we're staying until Wednesday. She's like, okay. So we did. But I am ready for football. We went to McKenna and I took in camp one day, got to see Joe Marino and Pat Moran. We sat with Pat and Joe.
I saw the pictures, man. Yeah, I was living it up. I saw that.
It was a lot. The camp is always fun. It's an interesting vibe. There's a closeness and a realness just because it's kind of like everybody's just kind of got their guard down as far as that goes. I wanted to go to the red versus blue game, but I didn't want to leave the lake as far as that goes. And I had 6 tickets. I gave them to a friend. I was like, take your family. So he ended up taking his family, which is great. But football, yeah, dude, we're going to get to see them put the uniforms on Saturday. The Indianapolis Colts are coming to town, which, by the way, I'm not going to be able to go to that game either. So I have 2 available tickets for that game too. So if somebody wants them, hit me up in my DMs. First come, first serve to my DMs, and you get my Indianapolis Colts Buffalo Bills. It's going down in the DMs. Not like that. Don't hit me. I don't need any pictures. I don't need any pictures in my DMs. Just say, hey, I would love to take.
Joe said we good.
I'd love to take my kid. But yeah, so but a lot is going on. Hard Knocks, man. Before we get started with that, so we are Super Chat Live. If anybody wants to ask us a question or jump in on the conversation, we're going to be doing our first roster projection for this show. Offense, we're doing, right? I couldn't get to, you're supposed to get the magical even number, right? So 53 divided in half, 26. I couldn't get there. So
I'd never get there. Every year I'm heavier defense.
Right.
Every year.
Right. That's how I felt. I was like, man, I feel like I need to be adding somebody and I'm not really sure. So so we're going to do a roster projection for the offense for this episode. Next week, we're going to do the defense and probably comment a little bit about that football game. But before we get there, make sure you hump the like. So as we like to say here on Wednesdays, jump on that like button. It's good to have everybody that has piled into the comment section. If you are not watching us on YouTube, please jump over to YouTube and check us out. But there's a lot going on. So there's some injuries out there. Hard Knocks started. Let's start with Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Wow.
First of all, wow. Like, wow.
Wow. We didn't even plan that.
No. First of all, wow. And outside of it being the New York Jets and outside of, me hating them because I'm a Bills fan. Wow. I mean, I don't think there, first of all, could have been a better pick this year.
Agreed.
For Hard Knocks. We could talk about the production. We could talk about just everything of it, but I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Like, who is this guy? Like, who, like, where did this dude come from? Because this
Well,
is
it was the lineman that pulled the microphone down and said everything they say about Aaron Rodgers on TV is not true, right? I mean, and then he gave the microphone back.
well, and then like he's laughing, he's giggling, like it's like he's like the new girl in the relationship, and he's like, oh, he's all cute and cuddly, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, what is happening? And then even like he's doing the big brother thing where
Yep.
him and Zach,
Yep.
like he
Yep.
it was like, what is that? Coach is like gushing over this guy. Like,
Oh my
you talk
gosh.
about a man crush.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a man look at a man. I think the closest I've seen is like me looking at Josh Allen. Like, but I've never seen
Robert
like,
Saleh's got beautiful eyes, and now he's got hearts in those beautiful eyes, right?
Gazing, like, just absolutely, he's gazing, just like
that's our quarterback. Like, how many times did he say like that? That's
our quarterback.
That's our quarterback. And so there was a lot about Aaron Rodgers to talk about. There's some meat on that bone, like the when they're doing the side shuffles and he's coaching up Zach Wilson. I'm like, wait a second, that's what they do? Like, that's clearly not what they always do when they're doing the side shuffle. Like when they're stretching and he's like drawing out plays on the ground. I'm like, what is happening right now? Clearly we're getting a different picture and a different view of Aaron Rodgers than I think what the Packers got the last 3 or 4 years, where he didn't want to be at camp, he didn't want to meet the players, didn't want to be
3 or 4 years. I mean, it's been a long time where you've had people say like he wasn't necessarily like the greatest teammate. And I mean, and that wasn't just like media talking. Like, you've had people come out who've left the team say like, yo, they're not. This is not. So I just don't understand like how this guy just out of nowhere, he's like the perfect mentor, the perfect bridge Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, he's coming in and he's like dimes. I tell you what, his thumb is healed up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I can tell you, his thumb is not. You're not going to get last season Aaron Rodgers. You're going to get. He's here.
Yeah, there's a level of comfort you can clearly feel that he has because Nathaniel Hackett is there. We can talk about Nathaniel Hackett. I don't understand how a dude. It's a weird thing for. Now, I'm not a Nathaniel Hackett fan. Do I know the man personally? No. Have we ever gotten an opportunity to see that intense like that in depth as we did on that one episode of Nathaniel Hackett, and just kind of his charisma and his fire and stuff like that? Clearly we are a little bit colored from his tenure here with Doug Marrone as far as our feelings on Nathaniel Hackett, but like what he did in Denver, like that display of head coaching, it's hard for me to gather like how he's such a good offensive coordinator who is like, players gravitate towards him, and he's compelling, and he's got good speeches, and everything he says makes sense, and he's got fire on the sideline during practice. And then like the dude was lost in Denver. Like,
but you know what? So you're in leadership, and you've been in leadership in several different. I'm a firm believer that like you can be a great leader in a specific role, or you can be a great, like, not everybody is built to be a CEO. Just because you're a good manager doesn't mean you're a good CEO.
True.
Or just, so I just look at it like, I'm a fan of Nate Hackett as an offensive coordinator. I know Bills fans, look at what I feel like that whole time was just not good. Like we didn't, like there was a lot of things that we complained about, and Nate Hackett being here was just one of them. But, when he was in a good structured environment with a team that had anything worth building or worth, really trying, they look good. And granted, it was Aaron Rodgers, but no, everybody likes him too.
Yeah.
Everybody likes him.
Yeah.
So, that speaks volumes for me too. I don't know. I think he's, I think he is going to get the hard, he gets the blunt of the jokes and all of that.
Yeah.
But as he should. It was horrible. But no, I like him as an offensive coordinator.
You're watching Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, and I still claim that Sauce puts hands on people, and I think this was on display a little bit in that episode. Like, he just punch, and he's like punch. It's like, you can't do that. I mean, you just can't.
See, I didn't see that. I saw it was a good battle, and I'm excited.
He's so good.
I'm excited to watch them.
He's so good. Like, you're excited to watch the Jets.
Yeah. I am.
All
I'm
right.
excited to watch the Jet. Dude, if you're a fan of football, like you got to be honest. Like this is the last season we saw what that defense looked like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Bills fans saw it twice.
yeah, for
And
sure.
and then now like you add Aaron Rodgers and he's making now again it's practice, but
Mhm.
that's a good defense. That's a good defense. So
Oh
he's
yeah,
making throws that we've Josh and Mahomes and Burrow maybe. Like
yeah.
there's certain throws that he made even in that. It was like, okay,
Well,
all right.
the one defensive coach, it could have been the defensive coordinator, was like, he just made a throw that like no other human on the planet could make. And I'm like,
Yeah, he's embellishment just
I
a
think there's
little
at
bit.
least 3 other guys that could probably make that throw in the NFL,
Yeah.
right?
But
So
I get it. I mean, I get it.
Herbert, Mahomes, and Allen.
I get gassing your guy up. I get gassing him
Yeah,
up.
for sure. And that's what's funny too. But I think what's interesting to me, so one of my biggest takeaways, aside from everything that we're talking about with Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett, and Sauce, and Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson he's a very endearing player as well. Like his personality comes out well on that show. But it was the whole, the dude that's the voice for the narrator for it, Leave. I can't remember his last name. The guy that played in he was in the Wolverine movie as Wolverine's brother. He's been in the Manchurian Candidate. He's an actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff. But he was like, a whole bunch of people didn't want to do this. And he's like, yeah, I didn't think I don't think people wanted the distraction. And it's like, you got like Method Man showing up to practice, like you got distraction, like the narrator of Hard Knocks came to practice. Like, how much more distraction do you need than that? So it seems like there's a lot of opportunity for distraction circling probably that training camp more so than any other Hard Knocks episode we've seen. Would you agree?
I would agree. And on top of it, I think now this is heightened a whole lot because it's Aaron Rodgers, but I think you also see the difference in what's available in a small market versus a big market. So like when you come to Buffalo, like guys are coming here to play football with Josh Allen,
right.
and I'm not saying this as a negative about the Jets. What I'm saying is when you have the ability to draw guys to cities because of the lifestyle. On there, they were talking about going to see Michael Jackson on Broadway, and they were talking about doing all these things. Those are reasons why people want to play there as well. And look, those distractions, it can make or break. It can change the talent. They got it. They and not because of the show last night. I think the show did a good job at trying to paint the picture of them being like this, Super Bowl favorite team because of everything that's happening. So I think they did a good job with that. But if you know football and you look at this team, you like, okay, this team this team can very easily make some noise this season. So
you talked about the bright lights. And I've never been a firm believer in the bright lights of the city, especially New York City and LA and some of the bigger Chicago. But, I would say that Chicago probably pales in comparison to LA and New York City, obviously a little bit. It might be because of how good the team is or is not. And then I think the moment for me, was literally, and it's going to come around to this guy for me for a while, is Isaiah Hodgins is everywhere. Have you noticed that? He's on highlight reels for the NFL Network. He was interviewed for top 100 players all over the place. Bills players, Giants players. It's like this dude is Gabe Davis. Caught 4 touchdowns in a playoff game in a playoff game against the Chiefs, and was the story of the game, and was on Good Morning Football, and that was pretty much the extent of it. Yep. Isaiah Hodgins, there's a lot. You and I have a bet about 425 total yards for the season for the guy. There's a lot of jury still out for Isaiah Hodgins. Meanwhile, in New York, he's everywhere. It's a different world for sure. And I think there's something to be said for being here, like you said, coming here to play football with Josh Allen. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to watch that. I still have not watched the quarterback series yet.
I want to go back and rewatch it. I feel like, because I'll watch stuff while I'm working, or I'll watch stuff while I'm doing, other things. So I didn't really sit and watch it the way I wanted to. But from what I gathered from it, I tell you what, man, I gained a lot of respect for Kirk Cousins. I think he's a whole lot. He's a lot more. He's more of a leader than I thought. He's tougher than I thought. And just an overall good dude. So I gained a lot of respect for him. So, and then
Gotcha.
Mahomes, I mean, Mahomes is like that, but I think we all knew that.
Yeah. When we jump into, or before we jump into the current depth chart, which was very thoroughly gone through online to gain before this episode. If anybody caught that live, if not, go back and watch it. Or if you're listening in podcast form, please go back and listen to Jerry and Sarah go through their depth chart, or go through the Bills depth chart. Before we get into that, is there any other news or topics that we need to talk about necessarily that you can think of off the top of your head? What about the top 100 stuff? Josh Allen at 8 and Jalen Hurts. You stayed out of a text message group. You didn't even respond. Jerry, and you. Jerry's trying to incite me, and I'm hitting the ball back, and you're just silent.
I just watched it. I just watched the whole thing happen. I'm like, I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. I think it's fair.
Jalen Hurts is he's had one marginally good season. He's the third best player in football.
I don't agree. I think for this show, you have to take, okay, so it's a player voted list.
Yes. This is a bunch of them. There was a lot of them that said Jalen Hurts.
But so it's a player voted list. And I think a lot of times us as fans, and then us as content creators, and we want to be analysts. So we overanalyze. Well, no, Josh Allen is better because he did this on the ground, and which was up to par with Jalen Hurts. But then he threw for this, and then he did this. So we're like really analyzing this stuff. I think players are looking at this from a standpoint of like, okay, this is our fraternity. This is our brothers. This guy made it to the Super Bowl. This guy, he took a step forward. He's a winner. He got to the Super Bowl, and I agree. It's recency bias. So I just look at it like the players aren't looking at it the same way that we are. They're not breaking it down to say like, well, Josh Allen reads the defense better than Jalen Hurts. I think Josh Allen, the last time they saw Josh Allen, we didn't score 14 points.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that Josh Allen deserved to be higher on the list. I'm not saying that he deserved to be 3 and Jalen 8. That's not at all and I know you know that. That's not at all what I'm saying. I just think 3 is really high for what I feel is a system quarterback who's literally playing Josh Allen's system. When you watch their offense, there's a lot of very similar concepts about getting out of structure and kind of like extending the down and getting late in the down, like to make plays outside of structure. I just feel like show me you've been there before. It just, three just seems. I'm not saying Josh deserves better. I felt good about the top. I felt good about the top 10 besides number 3.
No, but I'll say Josh deserves better. But I also think it's fair. Like when you look at last season, there were a lot of things that we as Bills fans could praise Josh for. There was a lot of things that a lot of people praised Josh for. But he also turned the ball over a whole lot in the red zone. A whole lot in the red zone,
which he'd never done before. He'd never done.
Yep. Before the season, he was what was he like? He had something crazy stat, like something 100 to 0 touchdowns to interceptions or something. Yeah. But this year it was insane. It jumped up. Yeah. So that to me, you do that. No, you're not going to be looked at as the number 2 to everybody. Now in Buffalo, we see what we see. Shout out to Tia Stell. She was on somebody, I forget the name of the podcast. I apologize, but she was on someone else's podcast. And she was saying that it was a list that came out and they had Josh like 4th or 5th. And she's like, yeah, I could see that. And it wasn't this list. It was a different list.
Yeah.
I disagreed with it, but I understood where she's coming from. I think for this type of list, though, when you're talking about the best overall player in the league, I have a tough time putting anybody after Josh Allen. I mean, anybody before Josh Allen who isn't Patrick Mahomes. I just have a tough time. Because Josh, he was the entire offense.
Well, right. And Daryl Fletcher says, who's both of our guys. Daryl Fletcher retweeted a post today about Boomerang, which is one of my favorite, and I responded to it, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Sorry, sidebar. But he said the elbow and lack of Cole Beasley showed up, in my opinion. And I think there's something to be said for that part of it. Something came off the rails during the season for that offense. And I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. I'm not sure John and Jerry know what it is. Something I know he hurt the elbow. So he did what he did, made it to the 8th best player in the league. wearing an arm brace on his throwing arm, which is absolutely insane.
But see,
go ahead.
No, but that's the part. That's the reason why I still feel like he should be higher. Like to do if Josh Allen didn't play incredibly well in every game, the Buffalo Bills would not have been 13-3
for sure. And that's so Jeremy White and Joe DiBiase were making that same argument this week. I think it was this week.
Okay,
they were just talking about the fact that if you put Josh Allen on another team, what happens to that team? They get really good. So shouldn't he be higher than 8? Shouldn't all? But that's the hard part. Is like they were arguing. I think it was on Monday. They were arguing. Maybe it was today. I don't know. They were arguing that like a defensive lineman probably should never be top 5. As much as Aaron Donald, he was way down the list this year. If you put Aaron Donald on the Cardinals this year, the Cardinals aren't going to win 5 extra games. If you put Josh Allen on the Cardinals this year, what's their record? He's gonna win games for them, right? And that goes back to the whole wins are not a quarterback stat. And it's like, well,
not to have that argument again, right? But when you have that argument though, when you're talking about like a defensive player, sometimes it's just undeniable. Like just because the guy can't put touchdowns on the board doesn't mean that they don't influence games like just as much. It might not be wins because like the defensive player, again, he can't score the ball up sometimes, but
yep.
But man, Aaron Donald, man, I don't think I've ever seen somebody personally in my life. Like I know LT, everybody talks about him like he's that, and so I believe it. Yeah. And I've watched film, but Aaron Donald, man.
There's something about a defense, a fantastic defensive player that is I use the term havoc wreaker, right? We've talked about having a havoc, which we hope Vaughn returns to that form and is that guy like he was early in the season last year. Defensive players come up big in big moments. Chris Jones, right? A lot of these guys, Quinn Williams, they come up big in big moments. When you need them, they're there. Quarterbacks affect the whole game. They affect almost the entire, whether you're winning or losing, the quarterback is affecting the entire game. Whereas we don't have to expound upon that. I think we're on the same page. But yeah, it's just interestingly enough.
Did you see that graphic earlier that Dan Freddy posted with Baker Mayfield being like
way off to the side by himself? Yeah, it was EPA. Was it EPA when they're losing? Is that what it was, or something like that? I can't remember. But he was the Lone Ranger.
Whatever the metric was, he was like the absolute worst. He was just bad.
It was bad. Yeah, which is. Yeah, it's. I think getting back before we talk. Let's get into our the roster, the depth, the current depth chart, and then we'll talk about roster projections. I think the most intriguing thing for me, getting back to the Jets Hard Knocks thing that I wanted to say real quick was, I'm interested to see what this does for Zach Wilson. I'm interested to see what learning from a guy like Aaron Rodgers and humbling himself, and you could see it in the show that his attitude feels a little less entitled, right, than what maybe it had his first 2 seasons. Him admitting that like things weren't fun and things went bad, and then I start to lose confidence, right? Or he said and then you start to lose confidence, and then there was an aspect of like, oh, this just got real for me. So I'm excited to kind of see wildly interested to see if there is an Aaron Rodgers effect on Zach Wilson. Like when Aaron's gone in a couple of years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we'll see too. And because I mean, like the kid, he's talented. You know, he can throw the ball. Like, you know, he wasn't drafted. What was it, 2nd overall? You know, for no reason. So
right.
So we'll see. You know, I don't think it's gonna work. But we'll see.
That's amazing. So this depth chart, and I'm proud of myself because I put it out on the Overreaction Buffalo Twitter handle. And I feel like before anybody else did that the Bills hyphenated or slashed alphabetically several players that were in serious roster like position battles because they're not trying to give anybody anything. So, you know, when you look at this roster, this depth chart, the current one, you know, Deontay Hardy, Khalil Shakir, and they're, like I said, they're alphabetical, which is freaking crazy to me. When you look at the corners, Benford, Elam, Jackson, it's like, well, one of those guys is the number 1, but we're not going to give you even a remote hint of who the number 1 is. Was there anything outside of probably Poona Ford being 3rd string right now, which could just be him learning the system, right? He could be a little bit behind. Was there anything on this depth chart before we get into our position, our roster projections that stuck out to you?
Just Osiris being
Yeah, I
second
agree.
string. That was all. But I mean, everything else. To be honest with you, like looking at this, it now if we're gonna read too deep into it, which is what we're gonna do for the sake of this show, um, if this is the case, it's like it gets interesting because then it's like, okay, the team, we kept a lot of guys, and then
Yeah.
we brought in some guys for depth, but we also brought in some guys. Who's not gonna make it, man? Like when you look at you, and I know this week, are we doing what, offense or defense?
Offense.
Okay. But so you look at this defensive group though, like look at the edge, the DTs, like good luck. You know what I mean? Like somebody's not gonna make it who we're used to seeing on this team.
Right. Clearly the Osiris situation with Ryan Bates not being the backup center, like slotted in as the back, Greg Mance being there was interesting. I'm glad Van Roten is no longer on this football team personally. Seeing how him and a missed snap with Josh Allen cost us 2 football games. I don't know if you remember that last year.
I recall.
One of them being the Dolphins game. Actually, 2 missed snaps in that game cost us the Dolphins game. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot here that, you've got to question Kyle Allen, right? There's got to be serious concerns there as far as mishandling snaps, just not looking the part. Let's be honest, he got this football job because he's really good friends with Josh. And I respect the Bills front office saying, Josh, pick your backup quarterback, a guy that you want in the room, that you love and that you vibe with. Matt Barkley is one of those guys. Matt Barkley, in my opinion, is not going to win us 2 of 4 games if something happens to Josh. And right now I've got a lot of concern about Kyle Allen. But there's really nothing else on this list that was like, outside of probably Osiris, that they did not do Ryan Bates / Osiris Torrance, right?
To me, that's the only one.
I agree.
Like, that's it. The roster looks ready. It looks ready to me.
I agree.
But you could even shuffle, and again, that's the conversation that we were having. You could shuffle some guys in the defensive area and say, okay, it's ready.
What do you make of edge 40 Von Miller being slotted as 1? He's on the pup list.
Yeah, but I don't.
Is there anybody else on here that's on the pup list?
Nope.
There might be, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
but I just looked because really it's
what do you make of Von Miller saying, I'm getting close, I'm almost ready. It's not going to take me a year, going back to when he first injured it. I'm going to be back for the first game.
Listen,
hang on a second. Hang on. What do you make of all of his? I'm going to use the word grandstanding, right? Marketing, grandstanding. I've got a voice. I've got a podcast. I'm going to use it. Meanwhile, he has been incorrect about everything else that he has said is going to happen.
Everything. Like every single thing. And I understand, he wants to play, and the Bills want him to play. They're paying him a lot of money. And the production when he was playing last year was through the roof. He was amazing.
Yep.
But look, if the Buffalo Bills play him week 1, I would be disappointed in the franchise. You don't rush this guy back. You don't do it. I would be disappointed. I don't care what he says, how ready he thinks he is.
Right.
You're not that ready from an ACL tear this quickly. Just know.
And there's something to be said for, the middle linebacker situation. I can't see Dotson, as much as I love T-Dot, beating out Spector or Bernard, but we'll see. We shall see. So let's get into roster projections, my friend. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start a quarterback?
Yeah, let's start with the easiest room.
Well, Josh Allen has made my starters list.
Yep. And I think Matt Barkley absolutely will make our practice squad.
I agree with you, and I think at this point in time we have to pencil in Kyle Allen unless things go really poorly on Saturday and maybe a couple of games after that. But is there a chance that Kyle Allen gets cut?
I mean,
Not for Matt Barkley, Kyle Allen.
No, not for Matt Barkley.
And they bring in a
for
backup.
who? Right. Like,
they
who
bring in
would
a
you
backup
bring in?
that they say, hey, if something goes terribly wrong, we got to win 3 of 6 games. Like, Kyle, you're not the guy. Sorry, dude.
Well, so Teddy Bridgewater was just picked up.
Yes, he was.
Um,
There's guys out there, but yeah.
But I mean,
they can make a trade.
They could make a trade, but I mean, like, who?
Trubisky
and you don't. I guess you don't really have to.
Trubisky is probably a guy they could trade for. Knows the system.
You think the Steelers would let go of Mitch?
Do you think? I was going to say, do you think they want the distraction? I don't think Trubisky's being a distraction, but I think Trubisky wants to be. We know he wants to start, right? So, and he's firmly behind the number one guy there, right? So,
I want $1 billion in my account tomorrow.
I did not win the lottery last night, so Mega Millions.
I didn't either. So, I mean, look, I get it. He wants to start, but guess what? Everywhere that he started, he's been benched since he's been in the NFL.
You got to be in it to win it. I was in it. I did not win it. Yeah, I agree with you for that. But there's an aspect of, I feel like the Bills could win a couple games with him. Would the Steelers trade him was the question. I don't know. I think they probably would. They might trade him. They might be willing to trade him for a wide receiver, of which we have a plethora.
You think we have a plethora?
We'll see. We'll get there.
Where would you rank our room?
In the NFL?
You don't have to have like a specific spot, but just like, would you put us in an elite category?
It's not elite. I think it's very good. And I think the benefit this year, and I don't remember who I talked about it with. I think I said it to Joe Marino at practice. I said that it was an absolute travesty that the only person talking about the fact that the Bills went into the season with 3 boundary wide receivers, one of which was a special teamer, all of last year was me. And then Jeremy White started talking about it last week. He literally said the Bills, if you remember, went into the season last year with 2 boundary receivers and touchdown Jesus. And I was over here, if you remember, going, this is a problem. I'm excited about the fact, the prospect that we've got 4 legit boundary receivers this year, along with Deontay Hardy, who can play the boundary. There's ideas out there that Khalil Shakir could play the boundary. But I think there's a guy in there potentially that could, if the Bills need to make a move for a backup quarterback, and we know that Mike Tomlin loves his wide receivers. We know that, right? Do they need one? I don't know.
Okay.
So good. I would say very good.
Great. I would go for it.
I would say very good. Your question was, where would I rank them? I would say very good. And that is wildly upon the expectation that Gabe Davis is 2021 Gabe Davis and not 2022 Gabe Davis. Where do you rank the wide receiver room?
Good.
Good. Not very good, just good.
No. Even if Gabe Davis is excellent this season, so say Diggs is Diggs and Davis is excellent this season. After Davis, the wide receiver, there's just a drop off. I know we like what we see out of Hardy. I know what we like out of, I understand, like, they drafted. I get it, and we want Khalil Shakir to take a step forward. It's good, and by good, I mean I'm seeing top 15. So yeah, I would say that's the middle of the pack to me. So it's a good.
We are literally in the space where Josh Allen makes wide receivers better, right? Than they probably are. Yeah. All right, let's get on to running backs. Running back room. I got 3.
Okay.
I have James Cook, Damian Harris, and Reggie Gilliam. This is where that I couldn't get to 26. Latavius Murray, I think there's an open door to make this roster if they decide they want to keep 4. However, last year they kept 2 and Tywan Jones. So I think there's an opportunity for the Bills to go into the season with 2. But I think Reggie Gilliam makes this team. Your guy. I think Reggie makes
I think Reggie Gilliam makes it as a tight end.
Not as a fullback.
Well, tight end fullback. They're gonna like hybrid his position type thing. So
gotcha. How many do you have at running back? Just 3?
Yeah, and I agree. It's the same. It's the same.
Did it feel easier to pick this roster this year than in other years?
It did, absolutely. Because even like last year, there was a part of me, like, because we drafted, so now I know we ended up trading Zach Moss, but it's like, does Zach Moss make this roster? Like last year, there was questions about the running back room. There was questions about really, it was a lot less questions this year.
Yeah, for sure. Tight end room. What you got?
This one is interesting for me because I feel like special teams could come into play.
Who?
So, okay, so obviously Kincaid is making this team, right? Knox is making this team. I feel like because of the, can you throw the depth chart back up?
Yep.
I feel like because of the um because of them being able to be flexible with Reggie Gilliam and have that, okay, he's half fullback, half tight end.
Yeah,
I think that
it's
they
a halfback role, right?
and I know Quentin Morris, they liked him last year. I think a sleeper could be, well, I think Jay Sternberger could be a sleeper
for special teams.
Well, I mean, but he's a tight end, so I mean, but I think he's also going to get snaps on special teams. But I mean, like, I think they like Quentin Morris, but I think the potential of what Jace brings in, I think he might sneak onto. I'm not saying he's better than Quentin.
Yeah,
it could go either way.
Yeah, I get it. I don't necessarily disagree. If there's an opportunity on offense, because we are wildly low on offensive special teamers this year, in my opinion, versus where we have been in the past. You know,
yeah.
So
we don't have touchdown Jesus.
We don't have Taiwan Jones is not on this roster.
Taiwan, yeah.
So I would agree with you that there are some slots not being taken up by some potential special teamers. I've got Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, obviously Quentin Morris. I think Quentin Morris makes this team for sure. Like 100% makes this football team.
Okay.
Where am I at on, on Jay Sternberger? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I think I've got 24 or 25 offensively right now. I don't have 26. So there's an opportunity for somebody to be there. Now, wide receiver room. I'm about to be the most hated man in Buffalo. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, so obviously Diggs is making it.
Are you sure they're not going to trade him?
No, I think.
I heard he's a problem. I heard he's a problem in the locker room.
He's a problem. They don't like. He has an issue with the quarterback, and he's not happy. And
hates him. I heard he hates him.
Very concerning. Very concerning.
So, can I just say this? Can I just say this about Stephon Diggs? Because I don't think I got the opportunity to talk about it after I went to camp. Stephon Diggs is always at 9 or 10 at camp, and I don't think you've been to camp. Have you been to camp since Steph has been there?
No.
He's always at 9 or 10. Steph was at 11 and 12. Like, he turned it up to 12 when he was at camp this year. Like, he's off the chart. Yeah, he's off the chart this year. This year, he has taken his leadership role to another level. Go ahead.
Well, and just to comment on that really quickly, I think people need to get over whatever they think the story was. I get so tired of like ESPN, and I'm specifically speaking on a segment on ESPN that I saw where they were like still talking about, well, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, it's a problem up there in Buffalo, so that's why they're not going to win the AFC East.
Right.
And it's just like, look, stop trying to create and keep running with this thing, because it's not what it was. But anyway, so wide receiver Stephon Diggs makes this team. Gabe Davis makes this team.
Yes.
Obviously, I feel Deontay Hardy makes this team. I think Andy Isabella is going to make this team.
Nice. I like that pick.
I love that pick. When they said that he came to Buffalo to try out for the team, I'm like, I really hope that they sign this guy. He's a speedy receiver, can create some separation. He has everything with a quarterback like Josh Allen. He has everything that it takes to like make big plays.
Mm-hmm.
He's that I like it.
Yep,
so, my thing is whether we keep 5 or 6. Where are you at?
Same spot. I 100% was like, is this a 5 roster or is this a 6 roster? 100%.
Because then I struggle with putting I feel like certain guys won't make it to the practice squad. There's no way. I feel like Khalil Shakir makes it to the practice squad, but I think I don't think Justin Shorter does either. I think they like Justin Shorter.
Justin Shorter does not make it to the practice squad.
He gets cut, he's gone. Like him.
If he gets cut, he's gone.
He's solid. Like the dude is solid.
The reason I was stuck on 5 or 6 is because literally Deontay Hardy. Because what we've seen from this front office before is if you have a guy that is designated as your special teams returner, which removing kickoffs from the equation this year might change that whole entire thing. Deontay Hardy, if he is listed as the special teams returner guy, which he is on the depth chart. You can see it right there. Number one
Mhm.
guy.
Yep.
They might say, well, we need a slot guy. So for me, as far as 5 or 6 goes, and we can have a conversation about this. Stephon Diggs clearly, Gabe Davis clearly, which I'm not overly happy about. I'm not sure. I want to be proven wrong. I'm going to say that again. I want to be proven wrong this year that Gabe Davis is a legitimate number 2. I want to be proven wrong that it was just his ankle, that was the problem. I want to be proven wrong that he's not a great number 3, like an elite number 3, that he is a number 2, that there was just other things that kind of came into play. So Diggs, Davis, Sherfield makes this roster, in my opinion. Hardy is making this roster. Justin Shorter is making this roster. And where that sixth person is for me is Khalil Shakir. I'm not 100% sure that Khalil Shakir makes this roster. Now, let the comment section go nuts. Let everybody on Twitter lose their mind. Let everybody that listens to this in podcast form DM me hate mail, because for some reason there is this idea, and there has been since last year, that Khalil Shakir is like Stephon Diggs in waiting. The Bills, like, I got in a Twitter fight this week about the fact that the reason Khalil Shakir did not dominate last year is because the Bills don't play rookies. Meanwhile, Khalil Shakir was in on 70% of the snaps last year. 70.
Joe. I think I sent you one of my debates about him, where somebody's actually, and it was about Andy Isabella, when I said, "Oh, I hope they sign this guy," and then somebody in my comments was like, "Well, who is he going to replace? Because Khalil Shakir better make this roster." And I'm like, well, what is it that he's done? And I'm not saying he won't make the roster. Just I'm asking the question: what is it that Khalil Shakir has done in his time in Buffalo that makes you feel like he's a lock?
Well, he's a 5th round draft pick too, right?
It's like a lock.
He's a 5th round draft pick. So what I need to see from Khalil, he's got to catch the football, which he's had a hard time doing in camp, depending on which report you read. That's what's funny too. I don't know if you've been paying attention to that. Some people are like, Khalil Shakir is catching everything. And then there's another report that's like, Khalil Shakir is dropping a lot of balls. It's like, so what is happening in camp right now? Because clearly there's bias.
I'll check with Sal.
I'll check with Sal. That's actually the perfect statement after that. I need to see him be willing to block. Right? You watched the season last year several times, you said. How many times did you watch him avoid contact in a blocking situation? Like literally step back, step to the side, and kind of hands a guy over, like, as he made the tackle. Like,
it wasn't just him though. That wide receiver room was bad.
Agreed.
Like when it comes to like blocking, it was bad.
100%. But he's the young player on the team. I don't know why we're so up in arms about a 5th round draft pick, right? So, but I think the question that I want to pose to you is, well, we'll get there some other time. We're not going to talk about it. It's funny because Sarah has 7. So Sarah has Diggs, Davis, Hardy, Sherfield, Shorter, Shakir, and Isabella. So she's got 7 guys. It might be 5. It could be 7. It's going to be interesting to see.
See, I'm going with the 6. I could see 7, but then that's when it gets difficult. Like again, like the conversation next week that we're gonna have on defense. Yeah, that's the comment I had up that you
Justin Shorter, Chris Yankee, the encyclopedia, who I got to meet. I think you saw the picture. So I got to meet Chris Yankee, the real Chris Yankee, which was awesome. And he says Justin Shorter is a 5th round pick. Yes, he is. And you just said he's a lock. He's a lock for 2 reasons. Number 1, he's a rookie. And number 2, he had a 97% catch rate. To me, that is all the conversation you need to have about this draft with Dalton Kincaid and Justin Shorter based off of what we saw last year. The Bills brought in people that could catch the football. Sherfield can catch the football. Hardy can catch the football, which is a message to guys that didn't really do a great job of securing the football last year. So yes,
go ahead. Catch the football and create after you catch it. We want you to get some more yards.
Yes. Yeah. A little bit of yak. Give me both. Just give me a little bit of yak.
Yep.
So I think we're in agreement. It's funny because I don't know that we're going to be too contested on any of this. I expected you to say that Shakir was a lock to make the roster, so we would have a little bit of a fight. But
you see how I've been talking, and I hope he makes it. I like him, and I want to see him. I was one of the guys that I feel like they could have put him in some better situations. to try to get him a little more involved in the offense. But at the same time, he was on the field. It wasn't like he, wasn't given opportunities. We can't. It's not the excuse that we have for like Elam, where it's like, oh, he wasn't even active for some games, or they didn't. It's not that excuse. Khalil Shakir played, like he actually played, and I think Isabella, he absolutely, to me, he makes the right. Now I haven't been to camp. I'm out in Phoenix. I'm going based off of what I know about Andy Isabella as a player, and then B, based off of what I heard about how good he looks in camp, and then certain conversations I've had. I think he makes the team 100%.
Wow. I have conversations too that I'm not privy to discuss live on the air, but after this show, remind me and I'll tell you some of the stuff that I've heard. Does that make sense? So are you cool with that?
Same thing.
Same thing. It's just, it's like, So offensive line, I've got 10 guys: Deion Dawkins, Connor McGovern, Mitch Morse, Ryan Bates. These are my starters, Spencer Brown. So I was wildly surprised when the Bills agreed with me on this initial depth chart. Osiris Torrance is making this football team. I've got Ike Butker making the football team just because of knowledge of the scheme. I think they like him. I've got Nick Broker making this football team, Brandon Shell making the team, and David Quesenberry making the team. Do you differ?
I have the same guys making it, but you said your starter is Bates. I have Torrance starting over him.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. We'll see. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I think the Buffalo Bills in this front office could very quickly and easily put Bates back into that first guy off the bench role who never plays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which to me will be maddening if one of the starting five, not named Mitch Morse, struggles.
Yeah, I just feel like Torrance is starting.
Did I just drop a novel on you by saying one of the five starters not named Mitch Morse? Because all the other guys, maybe not Connor McGovern, have struggled in camp badly.
But they're not going anywhere. Deion's not going anywhere.
Deion has struggled in camp.
Yeah, but Deion, you know how bad he would have to struggle. I mean, and I get it. It's camp. He looks bad. Okay, Deion's not going no place.
I don't think so either.
But, so I'm just saying, like, especially at this point, like, there aren't what other left tackle is even out there that you would consider starting for your season?
I mean, obviously David Quesenberry's on this team, and I've never seen Ryan Bates play left tackle, but we're told that his strength, that the number one. So I would say this. So we're told that the best role he plays is left tackle. We've seen him play left guard and center and right guard. Right guard, he was meh. Center, he can play. And left guard, he was good. Right? So I would project
17 games.
I would project ignorantly. Let me finish that statement. I would project ignorantly that he would that whatever we've heard about him being a left tackle would probably work. The question is does it work in the NFL for 17 games, to your point?
Deion Dawkins is a Pro Bowl. Like, he ain't going nowhere. So yeah, the only one that I would question is Torrance starting over Bates. But I think I like Bates, and I hope that he gets snaps this year. Like, I hope everybody's healthy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I don't want him to get too many snaps. If it works out, give me a starting five that's together and cohesive the entire season, and just let Bates get in for some breathers here and there. But I want everybody healthy. But no, Bates is good enough that I want him to get some reps.
It would just be a question of where, right? And we don't want him to get them at the center position. I mean, it's not as much of a drop off. I'm not saying that Bates is bad at center, but I don't want Mitch Morse hurt.
Mitch Morse he's better than we give him credit for. He's a very good center.
I remember certain content creators from other outlets calling for Mitch Morse to be cut a couple of years ago.
Like, man, don't get me. Like, what? Now last year, I will admit, I wrote an article talking about how I was concerned for his health, about his concussions.
Agreed.
And I said at some point,
right? 5, 6.
It's
six.
5 or 6.
Yep.
So at some point, to me, it's like, okay, you're having concussions at that rate. You might want to consider retirement. Like, what's important is your life and your family.
The scary part about that, don't forget what you're going to say. The scary part about that is he got the concussion in the Titans game. And I went back, I think I sent it to you. I went back and looked at it last year, And it was barely much of anything. He literally, there was a blocking play. He kind
It
of
didn't
got
look like it
tagged
at
in the
all.
helmet. He didn't fall down. He ran off the field. Like the play was over. Like third down was over. He ran off the field. It was no big deal. Didn't come back out and was
And a lot
done
of them
for
don't
2
even look.
games.
It just didn't even look like something that you would think would be the type of hit would
Right.
cause a concussion. So I did write that. But as far as like when he's playing and he's healthy, I think Mitch Morse is he's one of. I was so excited when Kansas City lost their center and we got him.
Right.
This guy was blocking for Patrick Mahomes.
Right. And we paid him as the highest center in the NFL
Yep.
when he came to
At
Buffalo.
the time, yeah.
When he
Yeah.
came to Buffalo. So there's a bunch of people having conversation around our picks. Chris Jenke, the real Chris Jenke, says Broker has been running third team guard all camp. He's a rookie. I'm not sure that necessarily matters. I think they're going to give those guys a chance. Sarah says Broker will not make the team. Did you pick all your? Did you give your list? You didn't give your list yet. Do I need to go back?
Yeah, let's go back.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. I mean, I'm just talking with you, so I'm not even.
As long as you're not talking at me, we're good.
Well, no, I guess I did give the list because I said I agree with everything you said. I just was switched for the starters.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you with who makes the team. I think Torrance is a starter.
Greg Mance, probably. I mean, practice squad, right? I mean, Alec Anderson has been on this team for a while, I think. Who else is there? I mean, yeah. Like I said, I feel like this was a pretty easy roster projection for the offense. Yeah?
Very easy.
Gotcha. Renaissance Man is in the room. Whoever was calling for Morse to be cut has the best strains because he was one of the least guys I worry about. Best strains. From
he's smoking that.
Oh!
Come on, Joe. You got to get it.
I'm old. Like Joe Miller is old. Like there it is. It just came out. Like you basically let everybody in the world know, Renaissance Man, who I love you, that I'm old and I'm not with it. So yeah.
L Boogie. Shout out to L Boogie.
L Boogie. Oh,
yeah.
That's Renaissance Man. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So but that was our roster projection to not much fan affair.
I think the biggest topic of conversation that we have for a show is whether or not Khalil Shakir, if we think he makes the roster or not, or if we what do we think he has to do to make it? I think he's good enough to make it, but it's the conversation that, remember a couple years ago when Isaiah McKenzie was on my show?
Yep.
And I asked him like, hey, the team is good. Are you, what if you're good, but just outside of good enough to make the team, and
yep.
it's kind of, to me, it's like that. It's a numbers game. And I like Shakir, but I don't know. I like Andy Isabella. So
that was the one topic that we did kind of push around a little bit before the show, was talking about the return of IMAC, who you appropriately named, I think, IMAC. Yeah. So do you want
to?
It
didn't take off. It
did not. It didn't.
When I show love, when I show love to him, it didn't take off.
His play didn't exactly take off either.
It didn't. But I just find it funny. When I show love to him, that didn't take off. When I'm honest about his play and about how, all I'm saying is I hope this weekend, he gives us a turnover on special teams. Give the Bills the ball for once. How about that?
I don't even know what to make of special teams. Like literally, I have spent the times that I've been in the truck driving around, because I haven't been driving around much. I've been basically just hunkered down at the cottage, which you can see now I'm back at the studio.
Yeah.
Driving around, literally thinking about what in the hell are the kickoffs going to look like. And I love Coach Smiley, and Coach Smiley lives in Hamburg, and his daughter is friends with my daughter. They go to the same school. But there's something to be said for him saying we will adjust and we will play by the rules and we'll do what we got to do and we'll learn to win with the rules that we have. Like, he wasn't adverse to it and he wasn't negative on it. But for me, it's like you're removing a pretty fun, exciting, big part of the game, right? Like inside the 25, you can fair catch it and put it to the 25. Why would anybody return it?
I love special teams, and I hate that they're killing that part of the game.
The only way you're returning that football is if it's kicked to the 19 or the 20, right?
And why would you do that? Like, even defensively, the strategy just makes sense. Let's start them off at the 25. It just, I don't know, because if you kick it to the 1, you're not going to catch it because now they just fair catch it.
They just fair catch it. That's right. And what is the rule? If you don't know, in the comment section, please, Chris Janke, let us know. What is the rule on free kicks now? So a kickoff is a free kick. So if it bounces inside the 25 and drops, is it a free ball? Because they're treating
that was the rule.
They're treating kickoffs like a punt now, right?
Well, I hope not. I hope they treat it like a kickoff because I hope it's still a live ball. I don't know what the rule is. Walter says Shakir is definitely a lock. Things cutting him is extremely short-sighted when you have so many wide receiver on expiring deals. He's valuable as a wide receiver with more years and as a draft pick.
There's one receiver with an expiring deal, Gabe Davis.
Well, and even so, I don't see how valuable he hasn't. What has he done? That's the question I have. What has he done that has shown me or you that he's outplayed his draft position or that he's a lock for this team?
I think he's outplayed 4. He's outplayed 4th round for
Really?
sure. I think so. As a 4th round pick, I think he's outplayed that. Christian Kirk got $18 million a year. If somebody's rolling up and giving Gabe Davis $18 million a year, bye-bye. Right?
He's going to get money.
Well, wide receivers get money.
No, that playoff game got him money. He just has to have like 2-3 good games this year. He's getting paid. Gabe is getting paid. I hope it's the Bills, though. I hope they can work it out and keep him here.
Beth says Shakir could be trade bait too. So I think this is part of what's missing in this whole conversation. And we got to wrap up here in a minute. I'm not outside or opposed to the idea that the Bills keep 6. They cut Shakir and they go after a slot receiver that's cut. Right? Mm-hmm. Somebody that didn't make a squad someplace, that's a veteran that works well.
Ooh. I know it has to happen, but
there's always guys. There's always somebody out there that's going to get cut. Right? Somebody that can play well against the zone and find the soft spots, because Shakir struggled with that too.
So why the hell didn't we pick up somebody last year? I'm sorry.
We did. We picked up Beasley.
No, after 3/4 of the season was over. I'm saying, why didn't we pick, like, all year we went into the season. They said Gabe Davis was injured as of week 2. We didn't have anybody for that Emmanuel Sanders role. We didn't have anybody for the Gabe Davis role because Isaiah McKenzie clearly was buns, cheeks even, regardless of whatever term you want to use for it. And then, I mean, Dawson Knox, God bless him, I love him, but he didn't start really playing until late in the season. I get it. He played. He was there for games, but go and look at his stats. I had many questions, many a days, as to why his contract was the number that it was versus his catches and yards and touchdowns being what it was.
There is a lot of football politics. And a bunch of people have probably logged off, and there's probably a bunch of people that were listening in a podcast from that haven't hung out. But like literally, there's a ton of football politics going on that happened last year, and you're dancing around, circling around all of it. Why did we not go get somebody when Gabe Davis got hurt? Right. So 2 boundary receivers. Kumaro got hurt. Davis is hurt. You've got a guy on the roster.
Your guy
that went to New York City and blew up, who you cut twice. You cut twice. Isaiah McKenzie, Khalil Shakir, all the conversation, even tonight in the comment section about Khalil Shakir, was so good at 70% of the snaps that they went and got Cole Beasley off the bench or out of the bleachers, along with John Brown.
Talk to him, Joe.
I mean, I don't know what the answer is as far as what they're trying to figure out or what they're trying to do. I don't know who it is that they're hanging on to, that they're worried about losing, because you've said before, we lost Isaiah Hodgins, who looks like a potential player in the NFL. I'm not saying a superstar, player in the NFL, contributor in the NFL. McKenzie's not on this football team anymore. Crowder's not on this football team anymore. Like we let that guy go for guys that aren't on this team anymore. And if they cut Shakir, I mean, we're never going to get an next one. Nobody's ever going to stand in that press room and go, "Hey, by the way, Brandon,
and
You cut Isaiah Hodgins. He went to New York and became something.
Talk to him, Joe.
To keep McKenzie, to keep Crowder, to keep Beasley, to keep Shakir, all the guys that are not on this football team anymore. What was the thought?
Back and re-signed John Brown. Talk to him, Joe.
What was the thought process here? Did you not know that the kid could play football? Is that what you like? Did when he made the diving catch in the red versus blue game last year, when he beat, I forget who he beat off the line and made that crazy catch that was on like Good Morning Football and on ESPN? Like, did you not see any of that? Do you want to give us some insight on what you were thinking with McKenzie, Shakir, Crowder, right? All those guys, Kumaro.
Well, Crowder was hurt technically
for some of it, yeah.
But talk to him, Joe. Put on for your guy, because you're right.
I'm done.
You're right.
I know Crowder got hurt, but
I'm gonna hype you. I'm just saying, talk your talk, man. Talk your talk.
Jerry Strosky's texting me. Or maybe he texted me a while ago and I just missed it. Oh, he was apologizing for being late. No big deal.
Yeah, we don't care.
Big O, we love you, dude. We love you. We love you, Big O. We're going late anyway. We're keeping the people around.
Yeah, Jerry, when y'all partying like that, man, go ahead and party. I didn't roll my eyes. I said eyeball emoji. I was looking at you. I wasn't rolling them. No, I love Jerry, man. Jerry is he's going to be doing a new show as of the start of the season. It's going to be called Primetime Rumblings, where we're going to have for Monday Night Football, or is it Sunday night? Whichever one. It's one of the two. He's going to have a show that kind of breaks down the primetime game for that week, and then Sarah will do one for Thursday Night Football. So it's going to be cool, man. It's been so much fun to get to work with him and John and really everybody. We got a good team. We got a really good team going into the season, and I'm really excited about it. But no, Jerry, man, we love you, man, and we appreciate everything that you're doing, man. Jerry's killing it. He's killing it.
100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been tuned into the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network, which you jumped in so quick on the Hump Day thing that I missed all of that. So, but it's been good to have all of you tuned in with us. Please stick around a couple more weeks. We've got the defensive roster projections coming up next week. Colts game this week. We'll talk a little bit about that. What else is going on? So the season is around, what is it? We 33 days away? 34, 32?
I don't know, but I just know I can't wait.
Are we OJ Simpson days away yet?
I think we just passed OJ days. Sarah's been doing like every day she's been posting like the graphic of it. And she actually a couple of days prior, she texted me, was like, should I do OJ? And I was like,
yes.
Oh God.
Yes.
Well, no, I don't know if she did or not. I didn't see it, but I told her, I was like, they're gonna drag you. They're gonna get you. I don't know if she did. I hope she did.
There are few people in the NFL, in the history of the NFL, that were a man amongst boys, and OJ was that guy. 6'2", a 6'2" running back in 1970. Like, what are we talking about right now? That dude was just otherworld, but unfortunately,
so it's tomorrow. Today was Saran Neal Day, so we'll see if Sarah posts him.
If she commits to it.
I was like, I just know how people are, man. Like, you're gonna have the one crowd that's like, you can't just appreciate them for football, and I get it. I understand. I'm not, again, whatever your belief of whatever the situation that happened was. I'm not even gonna get on that. But what you just said, man, he was a giant. And when we're talking about football, man, and he did it for the Bills.
He did it for 2,001 yards in 14 games.
14, that's insane. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Man amongst boys. And if you ever met Joe DeLamalure, which I have, like, his offensive line wasn't very big.
No,
like, he was almost bigger than most of his offensive linemen.
OJ was insane, man.
It was insane. It was absolutely incredible. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in with us. Appreciate all of you guys. For myself, for Jay Spencer King, we appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Football is right around the corner.
Go
and
Bills.
Before you know it, we'll have some good football going on. Yeah.
Hey,
is he just yeah.
Real quick, you gotta get like a horn now. I'm used to hearing the third down at some point throughout the show. We gotta figure out a horn or something. Like, I don't know. Can we load a horn up into the show or something?
That was one of the most amazing moments for me in a podcast ever, because that horn like blew for like a half a second. You're like, third down. Like, it caught me and I was like, what? You're like, it's third down. Like,
We got to get you. We got to get the horn. It's happening.
Couldn't have been scripted any better. But love you guys. Appreciate you. For me, for Jay Spence, for Buffalo Rumblings. Go Bills.
Go Bills.